Sigrika has been revealed. Let's talk about it. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. Alright, so Sigrika's splash art has finally dropped, and let me just tell you, this is one of my most anticipated lahairoi characters. Sigrika and Luke are the ones that were revealed from the initial batch that I've been waiting for the most out of everybody else that was revealed, so I am very excited to finally see her splash art. And my goodness, did they absolutely cook with this? It is beautiful! The warm tones, the cozy energy, I really, really like it. And it definitely highlights my favorite feature about her, which is her hair. I absolutely love how it looks, and it's one of the main reasons I love her character design so much. So all around, I am extremely excited for her. I do understand that unfortunately, she is not exactly one of the more popular characters out of the lahairoi batch, but you know what? If Sigrika has no fans, then I'm dead. Like, I really like this design. I think it looks absolutely fantastic. The green eyes complementing that bright, vibrant orange hair, just the overall energy of this. I am really excited, man. I really like this character, honestly. She looks fantastic in my opinion. So I am definitely going to be getting her. Really big fan of this one. I also think this is one of the best splash arts they have ever made. I do definitely still prefer Choyuen's splash, but this is definitely my second favorite wuwa splash, and all around, I think this unit just looks awesome. I am waiting for this one. I cannot wait for this character. Small 3.1 story spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. I also thought that whenever we briefly saw her in-game near the start of the 3.1 quest, I was like, wow, this character looks really nice in-game. She looks absolutely stunning in just every context. So I'm excited for her. I've made that pretty clear by this point that I am definitely waiting for this one. This unit looks amazing to me. But otherwise, we don't really know much about her, and we still need to wait for more official information from Kuro Games. But the nice thing this time around is that, as per usual, Kuro Games has added in some echo sets that are currently unusable by most characters to tease at future units. Sound of True Name and Chromatic Foam, both of which currently have no viable users in Wuthering Waves at the minute. Well, hypothetically, you can use Sound of True Name on Choyuen, but I will say that generally Law of Harmony is just going to be better, especially if you have S1+, because then you're probably already going to have more than enough crit rate on him, so additional crit rate isn't really going to do much for you. And then at S0, if you're playing him in more of a supportive second slot role, then you would prefer Law of Harmony to buff up your team's echo skill damage. So okay, by a technicality, you can use Sound of True Name, but for the most part, you're not gonna be using it. It seems to hint at an echo skill damage dealer of some variety or sub-DPS of some variety because it provides echo skill crit rate and also 15% arrow damage bonus. Now this honestly makes me very happy because it means that Choyuen is probably going to gain a new synergy in the future, which oh my goodness, I could not be happier about that. Obviously I did say back when he came out that his value would increase if we ever got more echo skill damage dealers, but I didn't actually expect it to happen. Usually whenever we get a character that's that specific, I usually don't expect them to gain new teammates after their release, at least within the foreseeable future, but look at where we are. Choyuen is actually going to prove to have some future viability. I am pretty happy about that. A big reason as to why I'm so confident this is probably a DPS set is simply because Choyuen's kit is so specific. I don't think that he would be replaced as an echo skill damage support so soon. So all around, we have the potential for Sigrika to maybe use Sound of True Name, and if she does, well then that means that Choyuen is going to be eating well, and I'm personally going to be very, very happy about that. Though that is just one of her potential uses. Another potential use that she's going to have is as a Fusion Burst support, and the reason I say this is because of the Fusion Burst set that's currently in game and not being used. We all know that IMF has a Fusion Burst mode that is currently just not very good. Toon Break is better in every way, shape, and form, and there is literally no reason to use her negative status mode unless you're just A, curious to see what it does, or B, you really, really want to use your Chisa somewhere and you don't have any other units that you're viably able to use your Chisa with, in which case fair enough. but all around her fusion burst mode is not good at the minute. You can use Toon Break mode and do so much more damage with a variety of teams. So unfortunately, it's just kind of a dead mode on her at the minute. This is not really a first for Kuro Games. They have done this many times before, such as releasing Phoebe with only her DPS mode being viable, and her support mode only becoming viable later on whenever Zani released. So, once again, not like Kuro hasn't done this before. They usually tend to tease mechanics and future synergies like this. Now, Chromatic Foam is a pretty interesting one, because whenever the Resonator inflicts Fusion Burst on the enemies, they gain 10 fusion damage bonus for 15 seconds, and whenever they do an outro skill, they give the incoming Resonator 25 fusion damage %, which is pretty nice. So it's pretty clear that whoever's going to use Chromatic Foam is probably going to be the character that unlocks Imif's Fusion Burst mode, and I would not necessarily be surprised if Sigrika ended up being that unit, considering that currently Fusion Burst is just not that good on that character, and Chisa is still waiting for a use case that truly makes her shine, so there's also that end of potential as well. Though, ultimately, it's really going to be a coin toss, whatever she uses. Now, maybe Kuro Games completely surprises us, and whenever they reveal Sigrika's attribute, it's going to be something that literally none of us could have expected, because to be honest, Kuro Games does that, like, all the time. But because there are 2 sets that are currently not usable on a unit in the game right now, well, once again, you can be pedantic about it and say that one of them is, but you get my point. Currently, neither of them are meta on any units in the game right now. I do believe that Sigrika will probably use at least one of them, because it is very rare that they add in something like this so early, and then it just goes unused for a really long time. Now that has happened before, because it took us a while to get Cantarella, who ended up using the Midnight Veil set. Of course she has other options, but the point stands that nobody really used Midnight Veil until we got Cantarella. So, yes, there is potential for Kuro to have just added in these echo sets and they're just not going to do anything for a couple of patches, but I just find that unlikely. Generally, there are a couple of patterns that you can follow that are usually somewhat consistent. I say that skeptically because Kuro Games tends to be very unpredictable with these things, and we know that with 3.x, they did kind of break their usual pattern when it came to banners. 2.8 was a solo patch with a support, pretty normal, but then 3.0 had 2 supports, and then that led us into Imif, who's a main DPS. That was probably the longest we've ever went without getting a main DPS in this game, which sounds like it's not really that big of a deal, especially because it's only 1 patch difference, with a support solo patch being pretty standard business around here. But consider this. Maybe a patch in gacha game time definitely isn't much, but in human time, that's still like 6 weeks. So the difference was definitely noticeable for people who were used to a certain structure. I think if she does end up using either of these, it is going to completely depend on whatever attribute Kuro Games reveals her to be. If she's revealed to be a fusion unit, I am going to bet she's going to use Chromatic Foam, and if she's revealed to be an arrow unit, I am going to bet that she is going to use the arrow set, and if she is neither of those, then I am yet again going to be confused by Kuro Games' mysterious ways, which I would not be surprised if I ended up being confused by their mysterious ways, because it is Kuro Games we're talking about. They are the kings of inconsistency in this regard. Oh boy. Well, at least it keeps guessing fresh, and it keeps things interesting. Now, considering how much I'm anticipating this unit, I'm hoping she's Arrow. I really hope that, because Choyuwen is my favorite Wuthering Waves character, so this would be a huge win for me if that was the case. But otherwise, I'm gonna be pulling her no matter what attribute she ends up being. Now, as for weapon, the thing is, there is no point in guessing that right now. You can tell nothing about this character's weapon at this current moment, because not only do we have very little information on this character, outside of what we can glean out of a couple of sets that are in-game right now, but weapons in this game, like, never make sense. Like, if I look at Sigrika, I think that looks like a Rectifier character. You know? I look at that, and I think Rectifier. But there is a very high chance that they look at this unit and go, you know what? This is gonna be a sword or broadblade character. I mean, to be fair, I can see sword also working, but you get my point. There is a non-zero chance that her weapon is gonna be something completely random that we would not expect. Besides, the only reason that I personally think knowing the weapon early matters is just, are they a sword or a pistols user? If they are, then great, they are probably going to be budget friendly, because Static Mist and Emerald of Genesis are very consistently good weapons. If they are any other weapon type, then it's a little bit more rocky, and if they're a rectifier, well, if they're able to use String Master, that's awesome, and if they aren't, well, then it's a little bit more rocky. So I would say those are the main conditions in which it matters. We're just gonna have to wait and see in that regard. But for now, I think this character is very promising, and she's either going to be doing two interesting things, which is either adding another viable option to a niche supports roster, which is very nice, especially after Liddy completely massacred the value of most second slot teammates. Bit of an exaggeration, because you obviously can't just spam Linny everywhere. There is such a thing as Vigor, and there is such a thing as needing more than one support. But anyways. Or she's going to help out Imif with her Fusion Burst mode. Regardless of whatever she ends up doing, I'm very excited for her, and if she ends up being something completely different that I don't expect, not only am I going to be at a complete loss, because then just, like, what? But I'll just be along for the ride. The only other thing I can possibly imagine them doing with her is making her a Glacio unit, because Copium, we just haven't gotten a Glacio unit since freaking Carlotta. We have not seen a single limited 5-star Glacio since then, so we are long overdue for one, but that is the only other thing I can really imagine them doing. Electro Attribute would probably be fine too, considering that we also don't have many of those, but I think Augusta was okay. She wasn't necessarily recent at this point, but she was recent enough to justify going for Glacio instead, in my opinion. So there are other angles they could definitely take there if they want to be reasonable, but we'll just have to wait and see. I'm excited though. I am very excited for this character's future. Hopefully this video is able to tell you what I think about Sigrika now that she's been dripped. This has been Juice, signing out, and to me this character is a definitive must pull. Genuinely, just look at her hair and look at how cozy she is. Man, I like this character.